Milad from the Association of Startup and SME Enablers in Kenya. Karibu, Karibu. Mercy, let's give her a round of applause as she comes up on stage. We do have Katuchi Kasandi from the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs. Let's give her a round of applause, Katuchi Kasandi. And yes, we will have Mr. Joram Wenamo, who, it was going to be an all-women panel, but, or you want Nekesa tomorrow? Is that an instruction or a?
Oh, okay.
I think there's a debate going on. Joram, just come. You make a great moderator. Oh. A round of applause to Mr. Wenamo, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be talking about SME Business Associations, the benefits and opportunities found in being part of a business association. And let me just, for a second, before Joram takes it up, let me set stage and say I've had the opportunity of working with government. And I realized that sometimes we're not hard because we are isolated. We are not hard because we're isolated. And I've seen what lobbying does as associations. So for me, this is an important conversation because I've not seen anywhere else where this is happening for SMEs. So Joram, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Amani. Part of a challenge of having been housemates is that he's just stolen my opening statement. That was going to be my opening statement. I've worked with government and what he said. So moving forward, how many people here are part of an association that, represents SMEs? Hands up. Hands up. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, like 5, 6, okay. And what Amani said is true. As we've been engaging government, one of the things that we keep being told is, don't come as separate voices, or you come as a group and they're like, who are you representing? How many members do you have? Are you really the voice of SMEs, or are you, representing a small section of people who are pushing an agenda? And so you find that government doesn't want to engage because they don't feel that the people they are dealing with are representative. So on stage, I have 3 organizations, and this is the first panel that I will ask them to start with an introduction of their organization and what their organization does. And then we'll move into the questions. So we can start with you, Katuchi.
So thank you, Joram. As he rightfully put it, my name is Katuchi Kasandi Wanjohi. I am head of ANDI East Africa chapter. ANDI stands for the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs. And what that is that we are a global network of about 300 organizations. And each and every organization, including WILD, who are a part of this, support entrepreneurs by either providing financial or non-financial support. And as Joram has rightfully put it, within the network, we provide opportunities for networking. We provide both knowledge and financial resources. We also provide we provide research, and over and above that, we also do advocate for the small and growing business sector in Kenya. And I'll stop at that. I'm happy to speak more later.
Maybe you can quickly just say who can be your member? What kind of organizations join as members?
Yes, so ANDI members are actually enterprise support organizations. So not the entrepreneur directly, but now the entrepreneurs that are now WILD. So WILD works with entrepreneurs, so WILD can actually be an ANDI member. But over and above that, to just share the profile, we have investors, both commercial and impact investors. We have accelerators, incubators, management consulting firms. We have development financial institutions, as well as research firms. So that's the typical profile of an ANDI member, but they are all working with entrepreneurs in some shape or form.
Okay. Would corporates who work with entrepreneurs
Yes, we do not have local corporates in the membership yet.
Okay.
We have a lot of global corporates that are part of the network, but we are more than happy to also have local corporates join the network.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, there's a corporate in the room. I remember sending, I will not mention the name. Yeah, you joined, yes, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so here's another one. Okay, and we can hear from you, Marcy.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Wow, it's a great lunch. The energy is low, but anyway. My name is Marcy Kimalat. I'm the founding CEO for ASEC. So ASEC stands for the Association of Startup and SME Enablers of Kenya. It was founded in 2019, and it was birthed because of the same frustrations that Joram has just talked about living in silos. And so founders of, the leaders of the different innovation hubs came together and actually formed this association to be an umbrella body to now incorporate all organizations that do support entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of correlation also with Andy, and we do appreciate that existing synergies as well that we can definitely explore on. In terms of membership, we have 55 plus hubs who are part of our membership, and they're across Kenya, and they're supporting entrepreneurs in diverse sectors. So we're talking about water and sanitation, we're talking about education, there's disability and tech, there is green and renewable energy, there's a circular economy, and of course there's the agri-tech and agri-food as a sector. So we're really happy to be here, and good discussions.
Okay, thank you very much. Where is our founder Amani? The next organization is called SME Founders Association. I got you.
I'm ready to sign up.
Yeah. Chess, tell us more about SME Founders Association and how long you've been in the country and what you do.
Okay, so we are the place for you, Amani, and just talk to me, I'll get you in. So our business is only as good as its founder. And I hope you understand that. We're just having a conversation with a friend of mine here, and we're laughing, and he said if he's in hospital, ako hospitali na biashara yake, right? So the SME Founders Association was set up to meet the need of the founders. Everybody's doing knowledge, everybody's doing technical skills, but very few of us are actually looking after the founder. Now, when we talk about the compliance and the technicalities, those ones check. Government registration, check. But am I, as a founder, thinking growth? Do I have the capacity to think beyond myself? Am I connecting to the right people? So we stand for 3 key things: competence, compliance, and access to capital. We believe if you take care of competence and compliance, access to capital is a no-brainer, because then I'll be running my business right. So what we tend to do is focus around learning and networking. So we find information that founders need. We are founders for founders. So every lead in our organization is a founder. And then we work with emerging founders, which is building the next generation. So we're all about partnerships. We're all about delivering services together. So we run hubs. We're currently executing a program with GIZ. It's been an accelerator for agribusiness. We're looking at a few other things we can be doing. We are currently linking in with Focus to create opportunities for university graduates as they transit to be able to support the SME space, because we want to sort the founder with the right teams, the right knowledge, the right access to opportunities, so that everything we do ensures the founder remains sane. And then the business can transit that 5-year gap.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that was an altar call.
It's an altar call. I will be standing here. You can come to me at the end of the session.
And join SME Founders Association. And so this talks about the wider ecosystem of, entrepreneurship in Kenya. I think a lot of us, when we hear, discussions about SMEs and the like, I would have to state that sometimes we also have a very Nairobi-centric view of what SMEs are, and like from the research we saw from Research Plus, there's actually a countrywide thing that's happening. Do we think the ecosystem to support SMEs is improving or not across the country? I don't know who would like to go first on that one.
Let me jump in.
Okay, yeah.
And from the founder perspective, then accelerator perspective can happen. I think it's important to think beyond Nairobi. Why? You will find that we have all the services resident here, but devolution has happened. So this weekend I had the absolutely amazing opportunity to fly to Kisumu and sit with an older entrepreneur, and we were unpacking the needs in Kisumu. Whereas there's one or two, we don't have enough work. And the thing, a few weeks ago I was in a meeting, and government is willing and creating the opportunities, but too many of us are too scared because Nairobi is comfortable. Let's be real. Nairobi is comfortable. But then when you look at the opportunities being set up, even just by county governments, I will use Trans Nzoia as an example. The current governor came back and told his professionals, when you retire, you're coming home. Can you come and start building? So that's why the ecosystem there is functional. Do I have enough capacity there? We have a member who joins our meetings virtually. We have one in Kitale, one in Kisumu, one in Meru. So there is the need, and we're beginning to expand. Whether we're expanding as quickly as the need, I think that's where the conversation needs to be taken. Because you will find a lot of people went home during COVID. So then, how are we enabling them? They're now saying, we need the opportunities we had in Nairobi. I have clients in Meru, I'm doing it from Nairobi, so how do we now decentralize our spaces, which is now how working together comes into place? Because I can't go to the 47 counties alone. But if I went with ASEC, so now I need... So I think that's the whole conversation. It has to be around collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Okay. ASEC, how many members do you have? Where are they distributed, and what's the SME support ecosystem looking like? Yeah.
First of all, there's a misconception that ASEC only focuses on Nairobi or the major cities. But I'm here to tell you that we're also across the country. And now what we're trying to do is, again, create localized or contextualized entrepreneurship within a specific region by actually having those innovation hubs based there. So for example, if you look at Pwani as an ecosystem in itself, they recently had the Pwani Innovation Week. We have 6 of our members there, and 4 of them actually were participating in running and coming up with the Pwani Innovation Week, meaning they're actually available to support entrepreneurs right there on the ground and to continuously provide mentorship and coaching to them. So we're also looking at strengthening regions like the western part of Kenya, and we do have one of the projects that we're launching actually early June that will be focusing on youth and agriculture. So within the project, which is called AgriJobs, and I think you'll also hear more about it on the media and different channels, it's about how do we foster entrepreneurship within the western part of Kenya to include more youth into entrepreneurship. Because also there's a study that was done where they're saying 75% of entrepreneurs in the agri-food sector, but guess what? It's only 10% of youth that are involved in agriculture. So even as ASEC, what we're trying to do is do the lobby and the policies and see how do we actually create that culture of entrepreneurship to be able to allow more youth and even more women to participate in, even the different sectors that are there, not just only agriculture, but even manufacturing, even circular economy, and many other sectors that actually they can participate. But to be able to effectively ensure that we have a systemic change, because it's not just about create the culture and then come with trainings and then leave them. We want to institutionalize some hubs to actually be there. So it becomes a center of knowledge, a place of gaining tools, a place of accessing the communities, and not just for the capacity building part, but also the network of entrepreneurs within that region. And then now the bigger picture is looking at how do we transverse or have ecosystem tours. So have someone from Western Kenya, a group of entrepreneurs traveling to Pwani, the Pwani region, learn about how they're doing, see what commercial opportunities lie there, what type of business opportunities are there, and even looking at how partnerships. Maybe perhaps we can have a merger of businesses, right? And so even looking at how do we birth new economic models that can actually help businesses thrive. So for us, it's more of like top-down approach, but also looking at how do we also bring up those grassroots innovations and then support them through the innovation hubs.
Okay. And at some point I'll come to talk about, how people can join you as members so they can benefit from that. Katuchi, Andy tends to have a more global outlook. I don't know how you compare the local ecosystem to maybe what you've seen in other countries, because Andy does research across the world, and then we have a chapter in East Africa. If you look at our entrepreneurship environment compared to, say, the support people get in South America, the US, Europe, where would you place us as an environment that supports entrepreneurs? Just be very honest. Be very honest.
That's a lot of pressure.
I know.
Yeah. But I would say that, as you've rightfully put, Andy is a global network of member organizations. So out of, say, about 250 members that are currently at Andy, 100 and about 50 have a presence in East Africa. So if you look at the general impact investing trends in the world, East Africa is garnering the most interest. I know some of it is going to East Asia, but East Africa in itself, we are sitting in an opportunity in that way. But when you start looking at some aspects, there are things that are really working, there are those that could do better. So for example, if we look at our other markets, so our chapters in Nigeria, in South Africa, we are seeing a lot of local capital coming into the ecosystem to support. But if you look at East Africa, a lot of the money that is supporting SMEs here, a lot of it is foreign. So, and with foreign capital comes with sometimes, and we were having this conversation during, like when you were having lunch with Joram, sometimes some of that money can actually even come with things around mission shift, for you to be able to accommodate what the person that is giving the funding wants, the goals that they want to achieve. But I think when we start getting to a place where we can see a lot of the local capital coming up locally, some of those people that will be giving the money understand the context, understand the local realities, so they are likely to even have like more grace period, giving more grace period to the entrepreneurs, probably even providing more than capital, like their networks, their sort of like expertise in market to help them advance the business. So that's one thing that we could improve as a sector. I think something else that would be really valuable in the ecosystem would be for us to get to a place where the entrepreneurs are growing they've really grown in their businesses, and they're starting to give back by supporting the entrepreneurs that are coming up in the ecosystem. So there was this research that was done by Endeavor, who was an Andy member, and they were basically comparing entrepreneurial ecosystems in India and in Kenya. And if you look at the study, the Indian ecosystem has tended to be a lot bottom-up, and the Kenyan one has tended to be top-down. And top-down with a lot of like, it's being led by a lot of like foreigners, and let me say foreign capital. If an Andy member is here, they would literally shoot me. You have a lot, it's a global organization, so it has a lot of foreigners coming in. But anyways, so it has like, there's a lot of like foreign capital coming to dictate. That has its advantages, it has its disadvantages. So when it comes to, for example, entrepreneurs giving back, the Indian ecosystem has grown to the point that investors are previous entrepreneurs, accelerators are previous entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs know best how to teach other entrepreneurs. So I'm hoping that as an ecosystem, as we grow, we will also start nurturing that sort of like perspective of entrepreneurs growing to the point that they start holding the hands of entrepreneurs that are coming up in the market, and then everything that is developed about entrepreneurship has the voice of entrepreneurs. In the accelerators, we are having entrepreneurs teach other entrepreneurs, amongst others. I think I'll stick to those two, and I'm happy to respond.
Yeah, you Kenyans make profits and go buy plots. You don't invest in your fellow young entrepreneurs that are coming up and mentor them. Yeah. Okay, so we need, I think there are things that can improve in the local ecosystem. Just if I became a member of SME Founders Association, members would tend to expect some benefits, but also maybe there's other things that you help with on the lobbying side and the like. What does it take to become a member, and what activities tend to happen at SME Founders Association?
So Membership is in two different ways. We have a network for the founders, and we have a business advisory and mentors network on the other side. So the membership for the founders is not much. It's under 60K. It's 56K for the year. It gets you, we have an insurance policy agreement with UAP. We have access to training. We have access to, we sit on the KEPSA sector board, so we've got access to KEPSA lobbying opportunities. We also, with every partnership we come into, we're able to create access for all our members. So currently we're also executing a partnership with SME Link, and we're taking one of our programs to the counties. So then our members, as they rise, they can be part of that. That's the membership side. We also have a weekly meeting where we come and we're exchanging, because it's money markets and mentorship. So we are exchanging contacts, referrals, and growing our businesses. And we have what is working absolutely well is an accountability system. So let me give a little example. We come into the room every Thursday and we're like, this is my intention for the next week. These are the people I need to meet. And then next week, somebody's like, have you grown? And we're finding that is absolutely growing our networks. The other side of it is the mentorship and the business advisory, which is through the Founders Profit Academy, which is access to learning as well as the ability to rise to actually have your own programs and develop them and have them on a learning platform. So those are the two major sides. And why that is important to us is what you said about giving back. We are looking and working to systematically expand the understanding of entrepreneurs. Africa is 60% below the age of 75% below the age of 35. And these young people are starting businesses without key skills that we have. So unless we're passing that on, then what we're doing is that we're shortchanging the next generation. So now we're very deliberate about being able to turn that information backwards. So you get a mentor, but you also have to mentor the next generation, and then we pass on the learnings. So top level, that's what we have.
Okay, and to my understanding, you do have chapters outside of Nairobi?
We do have chapters outside of Nairobi. We are working on our first chapter off the continent.
Oh, okay.
We have a Kenyan in the US who's actually setting up a chapter.
Interesting.
And then where we have respective members, we're working on building chapters in those locations.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And to ASEC, and this will also spill over to Andy, what opportunities do you see that have been created, whether it's for your members, or I know like you may have been involved in lobbying opportunities with government, or for programs, say with development partners and the like. What opportunities do you see for entrepreneurs in the ecosystem? Yeah, that they may not be aware of, because I know through your organizations there are some. Yeah.
So as ASEC, what we try to do is really help to strengthen the innovation ecosystem. One thing you have to understand is that since 2010, when iHub was first founded and formed, and I'm happy to see someone who used to work at iHub, Nakesa, nice to see you. Yeah, really, when 2010, when the first community hub was formed, it was focusing on tech, and that actually created a validation that we do need these spaces to actually incubate and support entrepreneurs moving forward. And that has really created a spur in the number of innovation hubs that have come up in terms of incubation programs or accelerators, co-working spaces, even maker spaces, and many others. And that has also increased the number of access of services to entrepreneurs just to help them grow. So what we try to do as ASEC is really try to strengthen or structure the innovation ecosystem, whereby we actually pull in partners at a very high level under our collaboration pillar. So we speak to development partners, we speak to government. We have a partner, we recently signed a letter of collaboration with the Kenya National Innovation Agency, and we've also launched the Kenya Innovation Bridge. And that is about linking innovators to the market, as well as also looking at how do we work with universities and even TVET institutions to also provide that pipeline of entrepreneurs into incubation programs. As an entrepreneur, the opportunities are there. There's a lot of things that also government is doing, and what we're trying to do also, since we are a key partner of government, is to actually promote the good work that they're also doing. And there are many other initiatives and incentives that they've done. Even if you look at Kenya Investment Authority as well, there's a lot of good things. They have a portal where it becomes a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs to access information. And so, because we understand that entrepreneurs are busy, or the founders are very busy working on their models, they don't have time to search all that information. So the purpose of incubation program is to aggregate all that information and help them access it right at their place of convenience. At the association level, what we try to do is pull in all the partners together, get the information, and then distribute it. One of the other things that we're trying to do under our internationalization pillar is identifying startups that are really they're high growth, and also they're actually impacting communities at a very large scale. And last week we hosted an event, the GITEX Global Kenya Roadshow event, and we managed to identify 10 startups who one of them has gotten an opportunity to go pitch in Dubai at the expo in October 13th to 14th. So it's a fully sponsored trip that one of the startups is getting a chance to go and pitch, and that again also puts Kenya on the global map, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create more channels and more pipeline of opportunities by linking with different chambers of commerces around the world, and then now channeling those opportunities to our members who are the incubation hubs and different accelerators, and then now it disseminates down to the entrepreneurs, because you guys are the beneficiaries at the end of the day. So there's a lot of good things that are happening. And then the other thing is about policy. I know it sounds very technical and boring and 150 pages to read, but it's very important that we are also part of it. So one of the things that we're trying to look at in terms of data economy, because that is also the other direction that we're going into, we have the Data Act that has come up. How many guys have read the Act?
One person.
It's only one. It's 1, 2, yeah. And guess what? The Data Act, if it comes into full force, we will all be here, or be not knocking on the government doors. And actually, we have tried to have different information sessions talking about it. Again, it goes back to ASEC. We are going to support in terms of advocacy, and also trying to create awareness of the act and actually how it's going to affect your business. Because as entrepreneurs, you also have to pay attention to policy. Policy creates the conducive environment, and it also influences the regulations that government comes up to enforce in your business. So those are some of the things that will come in and support. And of course, we do this also in collaboration with all our members and different stakeholders. But yes.
Okay, and Andy, anything to add on to that? Opportunities you see, regional, global, for entrepreneurs that you've come across?
Yes, and I'm happy to also just link some of those to like our membership, because I think similarly to ASEC, we do not work directly with the entrepreneur. However, all the work that we tend, ultimately the vision is to ensure that the entrepreneurs have the support that they do need to have for them to thrive, whether that's in terms of finances, policy, legal and regulatory, as well as knowledge resources. So if I was to look at like Andy, the network, one of the things that you could tap into, one would be even just going to our knowledge hub, where there's this whole information about the investors that are present in the market, what are the ticket sizes that they are offering, and which sectors are they interested in. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're interested in getting commercial capital, that's an opportunity that you could tap in. Then every other month, as a network, we usually release a newsletter. The newsletter is not just targeted at intermediaries, it's highlighting all the opportunities, whether that's around like new research, funding opportunities, training opportunities that are available for the entrepreneur. And if like that's also a space that you could go and see and actually get information on how you could tap into. A new space that Andy has not been in the past, that you're also now getting into, is around advocacy. And our advocacy for us is largely around, within our network, we have a lot of development financial institutions. So for example, GIZ, who are here, they are an ANDI member, USAID is an ANDI member, Global Affairs Canada is an ANDI member, and a lot of development financial institutions. So one of the things that we do for the small and growing businesses is, with the research that we have around different markets that we have, every year we convene corporate foundations and donor agencies to actually influence their budget when it comes to entrepreneurship in emerging markets. So we will have conversations based on data, and we will share the trends, and we will track the amount of money that they've put into entrepreneurship in emerging markets as a result of research that we are providing. So that's the other thing that we do at influence level, that is higher, like at that funders level. Over and beyond that, I think even within the ANDI networks, we usually have a lot of networking events, some that are open not just to intermediaries, but to entrepreneurs. And all that is usually advertised again through our newsletter. And within that, that's an opportunity, for example, to connect with someone in an industry that you're interested in that could potentially be a resource for you as an entrepreneur. Over and above that, it's also just an opportunity for you to make sure that you're aligning with some of like the industry trends that might be relevant to the kind of work that you're doing. And then something that is very big at ANDI is research, as Joram had rightfully put it. We have a lot of research, especially within our Global Accelerator Learning Initiative, which basically that study looks at the efficacy of an acceleration model. So does acceleration as a model to support entrepreneurs access capital in emerging markets work? So that has already been answered, yes. But over and beyond that, which entrepreneurs tend to benefit from accelerators? How do you need to structure your accelerator program to ensure that entrepreneurs have value? From other entrepreneurs across the world, what have they highlighted as the most important value for them? And just to talk a little bit about that, because it relates to us, one of the biggest value for entrepreneurs based on our data has always been, one, networks, and not just the network with like the peers, but if, for example, you're in a very niche sector and you want to get an expert in your industry, sometimes it becomes very hard for you to target them as an individual. But participating in a program where some of those experts tend to come, then it actually connects or gives you access to that person that you could engage even after. Over and beyond that, within this program, something that has also been listed as a big value, especially now that you're talking about owning the times, has been, like, for a lot of our members, for a lot of the entrepreneurs that work within our members, like being in a network was seen as an asset during, for example, COVID. Because within the networks, a lot of the development financial institutions were channeling funding through networks. This is because, there was no time for them to come on the ground and do due diligence. So they want people who are already vetted by some sort of a system. So when you are affiliated to a network that probably is relevant to your industry, then it gives you access to sort of like funding in adverse times. Over and beyond that, it also just gives you access sometimes to market, because I remember like one of our members in Uganda, they mentioned that for the smallholder farmers that they were working with, the government was only buying grain from the Grain Council of Uganda. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're not affiliated to that, then you're missing a huge market that you could have access to. So there are all these resources that they could get on the website or in the newsletter, and I'm also just happy to engage after this, and my colleague is also present. You'd be happy to engage and share more after. Okay, yeah.
I am so glad we had this conversation and had it last. There's a world outside your business and in your industry and in these associations. I know there's also financiers in the room, donors and the like. These three organizations. I'm glad I saw Chairman at the corner of my eye walk in before I say anything about government. Chairman of Micro Small Enterprise Authority is here. I think there is also room for collaboration there. Are we able to take any questions? Is there time for that? Amani?
We are.
Okay.
I haven't seen any on Slido. So if you have a question, this is the time to put up on Slido.
Okay.
So maybe you could.
As you're asking the question, I'd wanted to bring the elephant in the room. Is government listening? You all talked about advocacy.
Uncle James, are you listening?
Yeah, I know some of you have been involved, startup bill and the like. Maybe you could tell us the initiatives or policy initiatives you've been part of.
I'll speak through the KEPSA angle. Government listens when there are many voices. And that's why we have strategically, as SFA, joined KEPSA. I cannot go to the chair of MSEA with 10 members, but with the power of KEPSA behind me, we can go and have a conversation. In many ways, government is beginning to listen. There are initiatives that we are finding, initiatives through MSEA, through the Ministry of Industrialization and Enterprise Development. There are a lot of initiatives. The challenge is that information is not widely available. There's funding through the Kenya Development Corporation, there's funding through the MSEA circles, there's funding and opportunity through KEPROBA, there's opportunities through everywhere. The challenge is, and I remember sitting with somebody in government who said, communication is not our strength. So some of the things we can begin to do as associations is to help with the dissemination of that information. You see, government will help us to the extent of themselves. This morning I was in a meeting of the Organization of Women in International Trade, and a representative from government said, we will not give you all the money you will need because we have to meet other bills, but we will help build the right networks. And her challenge to us as women in business is to expand, take advantage of the existing opportunities. Specifically, she was talking about the Women's Fund, and she gave us some very interesting ideas, and expand it and grow it, and then come back and say not enough, right? So I think government is trying. They could always do more, in my opinion. But the thing we need more about is to actually find out where the money is and how to access it and how to repay it, because it's not free money. And when we don't repay, it doesn't come out in the next cycle. So I think it's a double-edged sword, if I would say that.
Yeah, I remember reading a story that the Kenya Development Corporation has been having challenges getting people to repay, but once they sent out a public threat, people actually started to repay it, which actually means, there are government agencies that have money for entrepreneurs, that people can access. Maybe you can just talk about your one initiative, and then we can close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for us, it's when you first of all go to speak to government. Of course, you get a bit of maybe the cold shoulder at the beginning, but when you actually slowly, now form a value proposition and you actually understand what they would like to see, because again, we were all going as different incubation hubs, knocking on just one door, but now when actually they said, please be organized, because also the role of government is to create an enabling environment, because they also understand they can't deliver the service down to the last mile delivery, right? Like that, down to the last person, they can't deliver that. So they need a channel or a mechanism to actually deliver that service through. And so even as ASEC, that's why we were formed as an association of different innovation hubs and different enablers that came together, and then now forming different strategic partnerships across different counties to be able to ensure that we're working very closely with the counties. So an example is that there was the Ministry of East Africa Community that launched the regulatory toolkit, and that actually was looking at all the agencies and all the compliance-related issues that entrepreneurs need to pay attention to. And this was well documented last year. So they did a national regulatory toolkit, and then they even went further and did a county regulatory toolkit. But guess what? Entrepreneurs also didn't know, and I'm sure some of you don't know as well. So what we try to do as ASEC is we actually work very closely with the government agencies, and now we disseminate that information to the entrepreneurs and even our innovation hubs. Because again, we understand our innovation hubs are the aggregators of entrepreneurs. Again, I think it's important, if you're an entrepreneur, please join an incubation program or accelerator or a community or even SFA, because it helps you to access information or be where information is being channeled, whether it's funds or market access. So by having these regular conversations with government, now we're able now to disseminate that information to them. The other thing that also we've seen is that also government wants information about what's happening in the local ecosystem. Again, the Kenyan innovation ecosystem is very young. We're still 10 years. We cannot compare with Nigeria or even South Africa. So we need to also give information to the government. And how do we do that? We form community barazas. We have different groups, and we bring community of entrepreneurs, we bring different stakeholders at that specific region. So in 2019, before COVID, we actually held 4 regional workshops trying to understand what are the needs of the entrepreneurs and even the different stakeholders in those regions. So it was Kisumu, Nairobi, Rift Valley, and also Mombasa. And we managed to attract a number of people. And from there, guess what? We actually came up with a code of conduct. And right now, as ASEC, what we're trying to do is look at how do we operationalize this code of conduct based on the issues that are happening on the ground, right? So the unfair practices, or maybe looking at revamping some of the policies that are affecting entrepreneurs. We're now able now to document that properly and then now present this to the government. And they are willing to listen and even partner and see how to do that. So I think there's a lot of we still have a lot of work to do, but there are good efforts that we are making towards that. But then again, it's all about the numbers, right? Because we are a membership association, also Andy's an association, SFA as well. If we come together, and I think also maybe we should have an association over here.
I will come along. I will come along.
We come together, then the voice becomes even better, even louder, and we include more people. Because remember also we have marginalized people as well who are left out of the conversations. How do we pull them in also to be able to have a holistic conversation? So yeah.
Okay, thank you. You know, Anamani is standing here. You don't know if he may hit you or something, so I'm a bit worried. But I think our time has come to an end. Thank you so much. So much information. I would encourage everyone to be a part of this. I have been involved with all 3 organizations. I can tell you there's a lot of interesting information that flows through there, both local and international, funding opportunities, business development opportunities. I would ask that you engage. And so thank you very much. We really appreciate. We look forward to the collaboration that will come out of here. Chairman, don't worry, you're going to speak just now and give us closing remarks because we've actually come to an end of this. So thank you so much.